going to begin with our expedited accusation calendar with the State Court of Fulton County for today, June 13, 2024 at 2 p.m. These are misdemeanor cases in which individuals who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail, their cases have now been formally accused by the Solicitor General. This hence would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer, at which time they will be advised of their case number, the charges brought against them, to appoint counsel when necessary, and to set a bond. If you are a defendant accused of one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you choose to say in open court about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. I'm trying to see who's my case manager. Miss Bridgewater, is it still?
It's me. Your reset date is going to be June the 27th.
27th. Okay, we're moving on to Thursday. All right, thank you. And do we have a Spanish interpreter who is on the way?
Let me find out if was one requested.
All right. I think Miss Kim might be requesting one.
Actually, she doesn't need a Spanish interpreter, if I remember correctly. I just need to interview her because she's getting transported from another jail, Alpharetta, to Rice Street.
All right. For those of the individuals who, I have this individual who's got a dot. Who are you? This person who's got a dot. I don't know who that is. Okay, we're going to start. Our courtroom 2, who do we have?
We have position number 1, Mr. Coffey.
All right. In the meantime, Miss who's hosting? Miss Lewis, can you place the person who's got a dot on the waiting room?
I can.
Yeah, on the waiting room, just the waiting room. Thank you. Charmaine Coffey has a case 24 CR 003724F. And Mr. Coffey is charged with simple assault, theft by taking, criminal trespass causing damage to property, and disorderly conduct. I believe it was at a Grady hospital. This occurred on June 9th, 2024. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that would be correct. 4 misdemeanor charges. Mr. Coffey, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Atay? Is it Mr. Cook? I'm sorry, Mr. Cook, is it you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Howard, any priors on Mr. Coffey?
30. We got a couple of open Superior Court cases: trespass, damage to property, obstruction, interference with government property.
And could I have the case numbers, please?
23 CP 218675. That's for the trespass and damage in the second. The other one is 23 CP 224407. That's a terrorist threats, obstruction, interference with government property.
All right, thank you.
Hold on. They got 2017 ag assault conviction, 2016 ag assault criminal damage conviction.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to Grady. It looks like the defendant went to Grady for treatment. They were being disruptive in the emergency room, so they were asked to leave. They went to a MARTA bus station, stole a defibrillator, returned to Grady, and attacked Miss Keisha Love with the defibrillator. Eventually, it took 6 officers to control him, and he had to be tranquilized. The state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond on each count, not to return to Grady unless seeking treatment, no contact with Miss Keisha Love, no weapon, drugs, or alcohol while on bond, and we're going to be requesting a MHET for obvious reasons. And I think that once this individual was tranquilized, they had to be treated at Grady, and that was the delay in time.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client had an obvious episode. He has been at Trinity House. He has been at 10 Park Place. He's been treated at Grady. He told me he believed there was some kind of mix-up in the medication. He will go back to Trinity House upon receiving a bond. Given that it's a misdemeanor, I know that they're very reluctant to do MHETs. We would be seeking a signature bond and then a visit from social workers with the anticipation that there might be a BHET, and we would follow up from there.
Understood. He was just released from the Fulton County Jail on June 4th, and now he's back in on June 12th. I'm not certain what happened in 7 days. On the simple assault is 500. On the theft by taking is 500. On the criminal trespass causing damage to property is 1,000, and the disorderly conduct is 1,000. Total bond is set at 3,000. It is a surety bond. Next court date is June 27th. Mr. Cook, you may have a social worker either interview him or see whether there's any other issues that we may have to address. But presently, we will see him on June 27th.
Is that was a 3,000 surety bond?
Yes, sir. And
Right.
to stay away from Grady Hospital
Sure.
unless he is seeking emergency treatment or he has an appointment with a specific medical provider. And if he goes back to the emergency room, there shall be no breach of peace. Any such repetition, he may end up just staying in jail.
And what was the SAP reset date, Your Honor?
June 27, 9 a.m.
June 27. Thank you.
Next case. Mr. Cook, you have to interview a Mr. Crow. Is that an add-on?
No, we anticipated to the last minute he was going to pad, and then something has apparently happened. I don't know what, but
Okay.
Your Honor, may I ask what is the contact with Keisha Love?
Oh, no contact with Keisha Love. Thank you. That was the nursing question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this Otis Davis?
yes, I believe that's Mr. Tai's client, Your Honor.
Yes, this is Mr. Davis.
All right. This is Otis Wendell Davis, accused of theft by receiving stolen property and misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Mr. Davis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Tate. Your accusation is 24 CR 3725F. This is from an incident of June 11th. Any priors?
First, he's 17.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Tate?
Would you like me to go?
Oh,
first?
sorry, yes, Mr. Walker, excuse me, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to High Heaven Smoke Shop located at 2132 Campbellton Road. The defendant was at the smoke shop trying to make a purchase using several different credit cards. So the owner called the police. When the law enforcement came, they made contact. The defendant had this stolen credit card. They reached out to the owner of the card, Miss Brittany Taylor. She advised that her wallet was stolen out of her vehicle a few days prior. The state is going to be asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, a stay away from the High Heaven Smoke Shop, 2132 Campbellton Road. No contact with the victim, Miss Brittany Taylor. We're going to ask for a curfew, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. I believe he is 17, so for him to enroll in GED or to remain in school if he is enrolled in such school.
Ms. Tate?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 17 years old. He has lived in Georgia since elementary school, and he is currently a rising senior at Hatesville Charter School. He is mostly a Sunday student. He's on the football team. He's currently attending football camp for the summer. He's never been in trouble before. This is his very first arrest. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. I have been in touch with his mother. She stated that she will be able to co-sign the bond, and I have no objection to the signature bond through pretrial services. His mother says he'll already have a very strict curfew, and stay away from that smoke shop, and no further contact is fine.
What's his mother's name?
His mother's name is Kia Joyner, K-I-A, Joyner, J-O-Y-N-E-R, and she would be on the call today.
On the theft by receiving stolen property, that's a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. He'll need to have his pretrial bond signed by Kia Joyner. And the sooner she signs it, the sooner he'll be released from jail. He will report to pretrial services twice a month. He's to stay away from the smoke shop in question, have no contact with Brittany Taylor. And his curfew at a minimum is going to be from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. He needs to continue with school or enroll in a GED program if that applies. And his next court date will be sent to his current mailing address.
Your Honor, he has two charges.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's a 2,500 on the count one and 100 on count two. So that's 2,600 signature bond for pretrial. No drinking, no alcohol consumption, no consumption of illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, and no smoking. Thank you. Anything. Next case I have is Ernesto Decius.
Yes, position number 3.
Mr. Decius' case is 24 CR 3728G, accused of driving, hit and run, failure of the driver to stop or return to the scene of the accident, and following too closely. Mr. Decius, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr.
Third
Howard?
arrest, resident of West Palm, 2024 FTA. Appears to have an open DUI in Marietta. That's it.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to the intersection of Global Gateway Connector and Camp Creek Parkway in College Park, where they met with the victim, Mr. Rodney Hill. He said he was at the intersection and he was rear-ended by a Honda CRV. That CRV left the scene. However, he was able to take a picture of the car, the license, and the driver, and that's how the defendant was eventually apprehended. From my understanding, he does have an open DUI. I think he is an out-of-state resident. So for the count of hit and run, we're asking for a $1,500 surety bond. To the following too closely, a $500 surety bond. No contact with the victim, Mr. Rodney Hill. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 48 years old. He's from Haiti. He does remember the accident. They did exchange pictures and the like. His position is he believed at that point it was okay for him to leave. So we think this is a big misunderstanding on the hit and run. We would be asking for a signature bond and what other conditions the court wishes to place upon the bond.
And Your Honor, the victim, Mr. Rodney Hill, is present. Can we please sound for him?
Mr. Rodney Hill, please unmute and start your video. Mr. Rodney Hill, please unmute and start your video. Mr. Hill, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, ma'am. I do.
What's your full name?
My name is Rodney Keith Hill.
All right, and were you involved in a collision on April 15th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the other driver, well, tell me what the other driver did according to you.
We were stopped at the red light. The driver rear-ended the vehicle I was in, which was a work vehicle. He got out of the vehicle. He started exclaiming that we were backing up while we were at the red light. He jumped back into his vehicle. I told him, you don't have to leave. I'm at work. And I was showing him my vest. I had 2 other coworkers in the vehicle. He said, no, no, no. He got in the car. I took a 28-second video of his vehicle, the damage to my work vehicle, and his license plate as he drove away. We did not exchange.
Identify himself or show you a driver's license?
There was an older woman in the passenger seat of his vehicle.
Did Mr. Decius show you a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
Okay, an insurance card
No, ma'am,
or any form of identification?
nothing.
All right. Mr. Walker, anything else?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Cook, do you have any questions to ask of Mr. Hill?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
All
I
right.
do have one question. I'm sorry. Mr. Hill, did you sustain injuries from this?
Yes,
What type of injuries?
sir. I still have neck and shoulder injuries that had stopped treatment of because I can't pay for it out of my own pocket anymore. My employer took care of my medical until I met the MI, the maximum improvement that they saw. So I'm still on limited duty at work because I have to be able to provide an income for my home.
What type of work do you do?
I'm a transporter for a rental company out at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. I hope you improve.
All right. Anything to add, Mr. Cook? Mr. Hill, you may mute your screen.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
All right. On the hit and run charge of one count, that's going to be a $1,500 surety. On the following two closely, that's going to be $1,000 surety. The total bond is $2,500. This is a surety bond. No driving unless you have a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration for any vehicle that you operate. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and your next court date will be June 27th. Mr. Hill, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have position number 4, Mr. Dodd.
All right. Michael, did you say Michael Dodds?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And Miss, yes, Miss Lewis, we probably need a Spanish interpreter for.
We're working on it now, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, also, Mr. Dodge will be my last person other than the unexpected Mr. Crow. So after Mr. Dodge, I can interview Mr. Crow and be prepared for the hearing.
All right.
Depending, we can work that however courtroom 2 wishes to work that.
Courtroom 2, how would you facilitate a discussion between Attorney Cook and Mr. Crow?
He would
Can
probably.
he call into the jail?
Yeah, we can have him, we'll call Mr. Cook once Mr. Crow shows up.
All right, Mr. Cook, if you would just put your phone number in the chat directly to courtroom 2. Thank you.
Okay.
We've got his phone number already.
All right.
Okay.
Is he gonna be added onto the calendar, Mr. Crow?
Eventually, yes, he will. I have to accuse the case when I get a moment.
Yeah, we thought it was Pat until about 1:55, and somehow it wasn't anymore. So I apologize for the delay.
Okay, and one more, Ian Cola, is he gonna be added on?
It was 2 people that were denied, so that probably is the second person.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Miss Lewis, have we identified the person who's got a dot in the waiting room?
They left the waiting room.
Okay, thank you. So this is State versus Michael Dodds, accused of loitering and prowling, willful obstruction of an officer, and criminal attempt to commit a misdemeanor under accusation 24 CR 3729H. Mr. Dodds, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors?
37. Last was 2023. Disorderly conduct, criminal damage to property. 2023 robbery, burglary, dismissed. 2022 obstruction. 2018 burglary, trespass, conviction. 2018 possession of tools, criminal attempt to commit a felony conviction. And 2015 criminal attempt to commit a misdemeanor conviction.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Yes, law enforcement was dispatched to 850 Mercer Street here in Atlanta. They met with the homeowner who is the victim, Mr. Stephen Carr. He advised that 2 males were on his property packing up belongings. that were his, including wire. When law enforcement arrived, two of the males were still there packing up the belongings. One of them fled. They both gave flight. This defendant was detained. To the one count of loitering, we're asking for $1,000 surety. To the obstruction, a $500 surety. To criminal attempt to commit a misdemeanor, another $1,000 surety. A no contact with the victim, Mr. I just had it. I'm sorry. Stephen Carr, stay away from the instant location, 850 Mercer Street. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. We have had contact with the victim. He does not have Wi-Fi access, so he will not be able to join us today. But he expressed that he is in fear of his safety because he felt like his property was scoped out by these individuals.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, this is my client is 47 years old. He's lived in the area his entire life. He is not employed. He would have great difficulty making a surety bond. His position is he believed it was just junk and he picked it up. He feared when the police ran towards him, so he fled at that point. We would be asking for a signature only bond and any stay away or no further contact provision that the court deems appropriate.
All right, thank you. We're going to accept the state's recommendation based on Mr. Dodd's significant history as well as the allegations in the warrant. It's going to be $1,000 surety bond on the loitering and prowling, $500 on the obstruction, $500 on the criminal attempt to commit a misdemeanor. The total bond is $2,000. It is a surety bond. Next court date is June 27. If you do make bond, please be sure to stay 200 yards away from 850 Mercer Street in Atlanta, Georgia. No contact with Stephen Carr, and you're not allowed to consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. No firearms. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, can you go over those bonds again? I'm sorry.
Count 1, loitering and prowling is 1,000. Count 2 is 500. Count 3 is 500. It's a $2,000 surety bond.
Thank you.
All right, position 5, we will hold off on that until until our interpreter is available.
Okay, we have position number 6, Mr. Harris.
All right, Donald Lewis Harris. This is State versus Mr. Harris under case 24 CR 37278. Mr. Harris has got 4 misdemeanor charges stemming from a traffic matter, operating without proper lights as required by law, willful obstruction of an officer, driving while license suspended or revoked, and failure to have license on person from a June 12, 2024 incident. Mr. Harris, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. Any priors, please? Mr. Howard?
My bad. 2022 trespass, 2015 ag assault, obstruction, hit and run conviction, 2014 and 12 probation, 2011 suspended license. I think he's wanted out of Douglas County, possession of a firearm by convicted felon.
I do see a hold. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the charge.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Law enforcement made a stop at McCain 285 due to the defendant driving with no headlights. Upon making contact with the defendant, he did get out of the car and get fight. When he was detained, it was determined that he did not have an active license. He had no identification on his person, and he had an active warrant. To the no lights, we're asking for a $500 surety bond. To the obstruction, a $500 surety bond. Driving with a suspended license, a $1,000 surety bond. For the failure to have ID or failure to have license on person, at SOB jail. We're asking for no driving without a valid license, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. Nothing further at this time.
Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 45 years old. He has lived in Georgia all his life. He raised 7 children together with his wife, who he's been with for over 30 years. I understand there is some history. I mean, a 2022 criminal trespass. He has struggled with homelessness for several years now. And then the last conviction was 2015. That was 9 years ago. And he has the hold in Douglas County. And these are traffic violations. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. He's living in the car, Your Honor. So I would ask for a signature bond through the jail, not only on the no license on person as recommended by the state, but on the suspended license, willful obstruction, and no lights.
Okay.
And he's fine not driving without a valid license.
Well, he's living in the car, so I'm not sure how that's going to work.
He lives with his wife, Your Honor.
Is she here?
Well, they're homeless and live in the car. So, and I believe in the warrant, it stated that the officer let her stay with the car and didn't tow it.
Okay. On the operating without, count 1, operating without proper lights, count 2, willful obstruction, and count 4, failure to have license on person. Each of those are a 500 signature bond through the jail. Driving while license suspended or revoked, that's $1,000 surety. No driving unless you have a valid driver's license, proper insurance, and adequate registration for the vehicle. Once Mr. Harris makes bond, he can only be released to the Douglas County hold. Thank you.
Your Honor, what was the signature bond amount total?
500 signature bond through the jail on counts 1, 2, and 4.
Okay,
And the suspended license, $1,000 surety.
thank you.
Then you'll go to Doug.
Is that level 1?
Yes. Oh, no, there's no level. It's not a pre-trial bond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the SAP reset date?
June 27. Thank you. I forgot to mention that.
All right, next we have position number 7, Mr. Lewis.
Darius Lewis, please.
All right, here we go. Come on, sit back there.
Okay.
And
This is
there was
the-
a second case that I accused from Mr. Lewis. I guess it's gonna be on the add-on calendar. It's a reckless conduct.
Oh, so we are proceeding with the reckless conduct charge as well?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And do we have a accusation number for that case, that charge?
Let me see. I have Odyssey up right now. Just 2 seconds.
Okay, gracias.
Not as of right now. So let me
Alright.
check with the clerk's office, but I did accuse it.
All right, Officer Norris, we'll have to recall Mr. Lewis for a second case, but I can address the first case right now. Or I can take up both cases later.
I think we should take up both cases because they both involve the same victim. So I think you might want to hear both scenarios.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Ms. Atay, I'll address Darius Lewis. He's got a second accusation coming up on the reckless conduct charge. Thank you.
All right,
We can take up position 8 at the present time, and that's Bonita Mack.
her bond was paid.
Okay, Bonita Mack is released and further notice for trial.
All right, and then we'll go with position number 9, Mr. Mitchell. Yeah.
Miss Kim, any luck with a Spanish interpreter yet? No?
Not yet, however, I was able to interview my client. Her English was good enough.
Okay.
Yes.
Judge,
Do you still want an interpreter?
She
well, the
wants to
interpreter's coming on in
interpret.
10 minutes. She already notified us, so she will be coming.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
This is State versus Hiawatha Mitchell, case number 24 CR 3722F. Mr. Mitchell is accused of theft by receiving stolen property from a February 15th, 2023 incident. Mr. Mitchell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howell?
29. 2019 probation, 2017 probation. 2016 possession of cocaine conviction, and 2016 FTA.
That's good. Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. The victim reported his iPhone 12 being stolen. The victim's name is Julian Roser. The iPhone was discovered at an Eco ATM. The defendant did pawn or sell that stolen iPhone to that ATM, and when you pawn or sell the iPhone to the ATM, they take pictures of you and you have to submit identification. That's how he was identified for today. The state is asking for $1,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim, Julian Roser.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client, Mr. Mitchell, is 66 years old and he has been homeless for about a month. His owner sold the house, so he kind of became homeless and he is financially struggling even with his odd jobs. He's barely getting by. Your Honor, we would like to request for a signature on bond through pre-trial, and he denies the allegation. He had no idea about the phone. He was actually helping out Mr. Emlich, who resides at Woodward Avenue, who was the one who actually had the phone. But anyway, we would like to request for signature on bond through pre-trial. Thanks.
Did you say Emily?
His name is MLIK. They go by the nickname Emlich.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bond is going to be set at $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Mr. Mitchell, this is an open active case against you. Although you're going to be released on a signature bond, it is your responsibility to make sure that we have a good contact address or phone number or email to reach you. Because when we send you your summons to come back to court, and if you fail to do so, another warrant will be issued for your arrest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can we go back to position number 5, Ms. Estrada?
Excuse me, but before you do that, what is the contact information, if any?
No, just simply $1,000 signature bond. through the
Okay, thank you.
Position 5, Tanya Estrada.
That's the interpreter, I believe.
Do we have why are we addressing this, Officer Norris? I'm still waiting on the interpreter.
Oh, I thought Ms. Kim interviewed her and she was able to communicate.
But however, my client wants to have a Spanish interpreter to kind of like translate all the legal terms.
Okay, all right, we'll come back.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go with position number 10, Mr. I can't pronounce his last name. Oh,
Georgina?
Georgina, yes.
You need to look up, sir. Thank you. This is State versus Akintoye Ojenchina, case number 24 CR 3721C. He's accused of battery, family violence from June 12th, 2024. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
No.
Okay. Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to 2965 Peachtree Road, where they met with the victim, Miss Emily Moore. She advised her and the defendant are in a relationship, and they were having a verbal disagreement. He took some jewelry and hit her with it, causing visible bruising. We have had contact with the victim. She advised our victim advocate that they do have a history of domestic violence. We'll be asking for a signature bond through pretrial services. A no contact with Miss Moore. We'll be asking for the requirement of an FBIP course. No weapon, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. I think Miss Emily Moore is present. We'll sound for the victim at this time.
Ms. Moore, if you'd like to contribute to these proceedings, you'll need to start your video and unmute your screen. All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 26 years old and He moved to Georgia about 9 months ago. He is a very successful social media influencer, and we would like to request for a signature on bond through jail if possible. If not, pretrial services also okay. Well, he wants to be more giving to the community. And he has started doing the giveaway to a lot of young children, so he can be a good role model to them. And Your Honor, I believe it is okay. He prefers to have a no further violent contact, and yet if he will comply to whatever the order the court gives. We were hoping that Miss Emily would tell the judge that she's not afraid of him. However,
Just 1 second. Miss Lewis, could you stop the video on this Michael iPhone? It's very distracting. Sorry about that. Okay, yes. And so he wants no violent contact with Miss Moore, but Miss Moore is
Yes.
not responding to
Yes, correct.
addressing the court. So
Right.
I'm all stuck with this. Bond is set at 2,000.
Yes,
It's a signature bond through pretrial services level 1.
thank
While
you.
he's out on a signature bond, he will stay away from 2965 Peachtree Road, which is the entire Sutton Apartments complex. He's to have no further contact with Emily Moore, to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. No alcohol consumption, no illegal drugs, and he's not allowed to own or possess any firearms or weapons. While he's out on a signature bond, he will attend and complete 8 anger management classes. He will enroll in those anger management classes within 30 days of being released. And then at the end of the 8 classes, he will present a certificate to pretrial. His next court date will be sent to his new mailing address. So if he lives at 2965, he needs to update the court with a new mailing address.
Yes, Your Honor, can he have a one-time law enforcement officer escorted visit to retrieve his belongings? All his equipment for his work is there. And
All right.
also, indeed, Miss Emily works for him. So
I guess no more. He's allowed a one-time visit to 2965 Peachtree Road. And I didn't get the sense that they were employee. So unless there's something different, but right now he can't live there unless you're telling me something different. Or if Miss Moore will be able to enlighten us on that. No? Okay.
they live together, they work together, and yeah, all the equipment is at that apartment.
Well, he'll need to find somebody else to help him out. Miss Moore, since he cannot have contact with her, it'll be tad difficult. But he's allowed a one-time visit to the location to retrieve his belongings, and that visit must be with a police officer.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Your Honor.
Next case, I have Mr. DeMario Thomas, yes.
I'm sorry, what position is that, Your Honor?
11.
Number 11.
Okay.
This is State versus DeMario Thomas, case number 24 CR 3730F, accused of battery, family violence from June 12th of this year. Mr. Thomas, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any prize, Mr. Howell?
Second arrest, 2003, disorderly conduct conviction. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to 565 Peachtree Street, where they met with the victim, Miss Marika Bell. She advised that her and the defendant were in a verbal disagreement that turned physical, where the defendant punched the victim in her face multiple times. The officer did observe marks on her cheek and blood from her left ear. The state is going to be asking for signature bond through pretrial services, no contact with Miss Bell, stay away from the incident location, requirement of an FBIP course, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. I do believe Miss Bell is on the line. We did have contact with Miss Bell, and speaking with her, she did tell the victim advocate that they do have a DV history.
Miss Bell, Marika Bell, if you'd like to address this case, you would need to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Kim?
Mr. Thomas is 43 years old, and Your Honor, they have been living together, and he strongly desires to have no further violent contact. However, he will comply with whatever the court orders, and they do not have any child together. He is currently owner of food truck, and he's been working as a cook for about a long time. And he also has a disability in his left leg, so he has to use a cane. So he does need a lot of medical treatment, follow-up treatment. So we would like to consent to we'd like that signature on bond through a pretrial. And that's about it, Your Honor. Thanks.
Bond is set at 3,500. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 2. No further contact with Miss Marika Bell. He is to stay away from 565 Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia. He's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve his belongings, but within 30 days of being released, he must update the court with his new mailing address. While he's out on a signature bond, he will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released. This is a 24-week program. And Mr. Thomas, by your third visit with pretrial, you must show proof of enrollment. You must attend all classes and present a certificate at the end of that program. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have position number 12, Mr. Turner.
I'm sorry, was that Brent Turner?
Yes.
Okay. This is State versus Mr. Brent Turner, 24 CR 003-720C, accused of battery family violence from May 5th, 2024, involving one Stantricia Harris. I don't see a Miss Harris on Zoom. Okay. Mr. Turner, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Kim. Any priors, Mr.
For 2023 theft by receiving battery, false imprisonment, 2018 probation, 2017 DUI conviction. That was in Clayton County, that battery, false imprisonment, so I'm not sure.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to
2788 Forest Hill Drive.
Yes, thank you. The one was a little blurry. Where they met with the victim, Ms. Shantricia Harris. She advised to the officer that her and the defendant lived together at that location. They were having a disagreement that turned physical. He did punch her in the face, resulting in swelling. The state is going to be asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, a no contact with Ms. Harris, a stay away from that instant location, requirement of an FBIP course, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And we weren't able to have contact with the victim, Your Honor.
Ms. Kim, any objection to a signature bond through pretrial, a stay away, no contact, and an FBIP program?
We have no objection, even though we strongly prefer to have a no further violent contact, since they have been being a relationship continuously. However, he will comply to whatever the court orders.
I wish Ms. Harris would show up to verify that, but she hasn't. Mr. Turner, your bond is going to be set at 3,500. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, and this is going to be a level 2. You are to have no further contact with Stantricia Harris. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You're also to stay away from 2788 Forest Hill Drive in Hapeville, Georgia. You may return one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. But after that, there shall be no contact and stay away from that location. While you're out on a signature bond, you will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released, and you must show proof of enrollment and attendance of those classes. You are to update the court with your new mailing address within 30 days of being released. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no firearms. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right, our interpreter is not here, and Mr. Walker, can you tell me the status of accusing
Yes, they're all accused, and I do have a case number for Mr. Lewis's second case.
All right,
That's the
Mr.
reckless
Darius Lewis,
conduct.
go ahead.
That's gonna be 24 CR 003 742 C. Thank you, Miss Katrina Lewis. I'm sure no relation.
Exactly.
Darius Lewis, please. This is State versus Darius Lewis, who has two separate cases this afternoon. The first one is theft by taking of some kind of Roku camera, but the case number is 24 CR 003 726 C, allegedly occurring on October 14th, 2023. The second case is a new accusation number 24 CR 003 742 C, and that charge is reckless conduct allegedly involving a firearm. Mr. Lewis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Keith Cook.
Second arrest, 2016 simple assault dismissed.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm gonna start with the reckless conduct case since that's first in order.
Your Honor, I'm not the attorney on this case.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, Mr. Tate? Okay,
Are we good to
sorry
go?
about that. All right.
Thank you.
Ms.
Sorry.
Hoda Tate is his attorney in both cases. You may proceed, Mr. Walker.
Okay. So I'll start with the reckless conduct case. In February of 2023, officers were dispatched to 4142 Oak Tree Court, where they met with the victim, Miss Londa Adams. Her and the defendant have a child together. He came to her apartment at that location irate, demanding to see her son. They got into an argument. Miss Adams' brother intervened, preventing him from coming inside the apartment. At that time, the defendant took out a firearm, pointed it to the right side of the hallway towards the other apartments and adjacent apartment building, and fired the gun. The juvenile child was present. For the reckless conduct, we're asking for a $10,000 surety bond, a no contact with the victim, Miss Londa Adams, and a stay away from the incident location. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. 8 months later, in October of 2023, the defendant came back and stole the victim's Ring doorbell camera. In that case, we're asking for a $1,000 surety bond. Again, another stay away, no contact, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
And are you seeking a stay away from Dejan, is it Griggs? Londa Adams, and I don't know,
Yeah,
is,
Dejan Briggs, that's Miss Adams' brother, so that would be fine as well.
and that's a Zion Briggs?
I think, hold on.
At the mine? I don't know. Is
That, yeah,
anyone here?
ZB is the minor. That is correct. So
Yeah.
I'll defer to the board on that one. If he,
Is,
go ahead.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Walker. Is anyone here on behalf of Mr. Lewis or the alleged victims in this case?
We weren't able to make contact.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Satay?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 31 years old. As you heard, he has no criminal history. He had one arrest 8 years ago, and that was dismissed. So he has zero criminal history. He is recommended for a signature bond through the jail. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. This is a case where the mother of the child doesn't want to allow him to see the child, although he did sign the birth certificate. The child was born during COVID, so he has been working on legitimating the child in order to be able to see his child. He denies the allegations as stated in both warrants. He firmly denies the allegations as related to the firearm and states that the Ring doorbell camera was never stolen. It's simply when he went there one day, it fell off the wall, and that the complaining witness here, Londa Adams, is really just trying to create problems for him while he's been desperate to see his child. Again, he has no criminal history. I would request a signature bond through the jail, as I'm sure Mr. Howard will tell you that he's recommended.
Okay. On the theft by taking, that's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail to stay away from that location. I think it's 4142 Oak Tree Court in East Point. He's to have no contact with Londa Adams and ZB unless he files a legitimation action with regards to ZB, and then he can have joint visitation and custody pursuant to a superior court order. With respect to the reckless conduct charge, is going to be a $5,000 surety bond. Again, to stay away from 4142 Oak Tree Court in East Point, Georgia. No contact with DeJohn Briggs, Londa Adams, and ZB. He can have contact with ZB if he has the appropriate legitimation court order from Superior Court. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. If he owns any firearms, they must be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. His next court date for both cases is going to be June 27.
Next, I guess we can go to 5. I see the Spanish.
Yes. Yes, Miss Lucia is present. Miss Tania Estrada.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Miss Lucia. May I place you under oath?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you translate will be a true and correct translation with no changes or embellishments?
I do.
Thank you. We are addressing State versus Tania Estrada, accused of battery family violence from June 12, 2024.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, the last name, Estrada, you said?
Yes, Tania Estrada.
Got it. Okay. Estamos aquí por el caso de Tania Estrada por agresión y violencia doméstica el 12 de junio del 2024.
The case number is 24 CR 3719B.
El número de caso es 24 CR 3719B.
She has a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything that she chooses to say in open court, her statements can and will be used against her.
Usted tiene el derecho de permanecer en silencio. Cualquier cosa que usted diga en la corte, en el tribunal, puede y será usada en contra suya.
She has a right to an attorney. If she cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent her, and her attorney is Miss Kim.
Tiene el derecho de tener un abogado y si es que no puede costear un abogado el día de hoy, un abogado del defensor público se le será asignado y se le ha sido asignado su abogada, la señora Kim.
Mr. Howard, does she have anything on her as a prior criminal history record?
No.
No tiene ningún antecedente penal, parece.
Mr. Walker, what's the state's recommendation for bond?
SOB jail, no further violent contact with juvenile GC, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out bond.
Any objection, Miss Kim? Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Miss Lucia.
Mr. Walker, do you mind repeating that for me, please? You cut off in the beginning. What's the first one?
A signature bond through the jail. No further violent contact with juvenile by the initials of GC.
Mm-hmm.
No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
Y la fiscalía está ofreciendo que puede salir bajo fianza únicamente con su firma y la promesa de regresar cuando se le dé la cita de su corte. No tener contacto violento con el menor de edad con las iniciales GC y no puede tener drogas, alcohol o armas mientras está bajo fianza.
Miss Kim, your client's bond is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail with no violent contact with the minor identified as GC.
Y a su abogada le está diciendo que la juez, el fallo de la juez es que le va a dar fianza por una cantidad de $2,000. Eso en este momento únicamente bajo su firma, no tiene que pagar nada, pero tiene que presentarse a la corte la siguiente vez. Y no puede tener ningún contacto violento con el menor de edad bajo las iniciales GC.
Pero puedo vivir con ella, sí, ¿verdad? ¿Puedo estar en la casa con ella?
But I can be in the same house with them, correct, Your Honor?
May I finish?
Déjeme terminar.
Miss Estrada, you may return to 1190 Old Forge Drive in Roswell, Georgia.
Señora Estrada, usted puede regresar al 1190 de Old Fort Drive en Roswell, Georgia.
But from this moment onwards, you cannot have any physical or verbal fights with GC, your daughter.
Pero desde este momento en adelante, no puede tener, no debe tener ninguna pelea ni física ni verbal con la menor de edad GC, con su hija.
If there are any future physical fights or verbal fights that involve the police,
Si es que existe alguna otra pelea en el futuro, física o verbal, para la cual acuda la policía,
you will be arrested and brought back to jail with no release.
usted le van a arrestar, le van a volver a traer a la cárcel sin dejarle salir.
While you are out on bond, you will undertake a parenting class.
Mientras está fuera de la cárcel bajo fianza, usted tiene que tomar una clase de cómo ser padres.
You have 90 days to enroll and complete the parenting class.
Y tiene 90 días para encontrar una clase, registrarse a la clase y completar la clase.
After 90 days, you must file the certificate with this court.
Después de los 90 días o antes de que se acaben los 90 días, necesita traer a la corte o entregar a la corte el certificado de haberlo terminado.
You come back to the state court of Fulton County and you file it in this case.
Regresa al tribunal del estado del condado de Fulton y entrega ese papel para que sea archivado en este caso.
No consumption of illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms are allowed.
No se le permite consumir bebidas alcohólicas, no drogas y ningún tipo de arma mientras está bajo fianza libre.
Please understand that even though you are released on a bond, no, sit down.
Siéntese.
Even if you're released on a bond that you don't have to pay, this is still an open, active case against you.
Por favor, entienda que, aunque se le está dejando salir bajo fianza sin tener que pagar, este caso aún está abierto y es un caso activo en contra suyo.
Please don't forget to show up in court when summoned.
No se olvide de presentarse a la corte cuando le den la cita.
Thank you. Now you may leave.
Gracias. Ahora puede retirarse.
Your Honor, it was two, on her full sheet, there were two,
One was NOD, deputy,
Yeah, the cruelty charge was dismissed.
NOD, yes.
and what was the, bond on the other one, I'm sorry,
2,000 signature bond through the jail?
2,000? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lucia. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Your Honor, you're welcome. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Mr. Cook, did you have a couple of cases to address?
I think Mr. Atai is going to do Mr. Crow, and I did not have the other pad referral that fell through was not mine. So
Okay, I have
On the
Ms.
Apple
Atay,
sheet?
who is this Medi Ayakola?
No, I think we're doing Jordan Crow right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
On?
okay, got it. 24 CR 003 744Y is the new accusation against Jordan Crow. This is on our add-on calendar for this afternoon. Mr. Crow is accused of criminal trespass and misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Mr. Crow, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one is appointed to represent you, and currently that is Ms. Atay. With regards to Mr. Crow, any priors, Mr. Howell?
20, resident of Dallas, Texas. You got an open trespass from this year out of the cab. Open shoplifting, open fare evasion, trespass, obstruction out of Fulton. That's 22 CR 008 207Y. Burglary convictions in this history. unlawful possession of a firearm by convicted felon. But he got a couple of burglary convictions. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, what's the state's recommendation?
Don't kill me, Mr. Howard, but I was gonna say SOB pretrial, stay away from all MARTA. He has a permanent ban, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
No, Judge, send that through the jail, please. I just said he from Texas. Y'all hear this history? Y'all be trying to set pretrial up.
Miss Atay?
Yes, Your Honor, he is from Texas, but he's been in Georgia for years, at least 2 years, during which time he's unfortunately been homeless. He's 34 years old. I understand he has some history, recent criminal trespass. Those cases are open. I believe the burglary convictions are old. He does work, Your Honor. He works every day at First Step, a staffing company doing public works. He also pays child support, which is taken out of, any money that he's paid. So he's just trying to get back on his feet. He did serve in the Army and was honorably discharged. He earned his GED. He does suffer from some health conditions, DVT and blood clots. He has a phone number, and he does have an address to receive mail, but of course we do prefer a signature bond through the jail. And unfortunately, there was some miscommunication. He should have gone to PAD, but I'm not sure why he didn't.
He was declined from PAD. He wasn't accepted. So.
Well, I didn't see that he wasn't accepted. We haven't.
Oh, she emailed me. I don't know if she emailed you or not, but he was declined. But I asked for through pretrial services because he's already out in SOB jail for a MARTA case. So I was asking for pretrial this time around, Your Honor. Yes.
Anything else, folks?
No.
That I would ask for a signature bond through the jail.
Understood. On the criminal trespass is a $500 surety. On the marijuana is a $100 signature bond through the jail. Total bond is a $600 split bond. Next court date is June 27th. Stay away from all MARTA property. Thank you.
All right, next we have position number 2, Mr. Iacola.
Mr. Mehdi Baron Ayakola.
He didn't have the wood
That's a state.
Mr. Crow, could you please stand up?
I think he's waiting for the officers here to tell him.
Look, oh, I'm sorry, come on, you're good.
Thank you. Mr. Mehdi Ayakola, please take a seat. His accusation number is 24 CR 3743. And the alphabet designation is F, 3743F. Mr. Ayakola is accused of criminal trespass from June 12th, 2024. And Mr. Ayakola, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. This is from June 12th at Georgia Tech campus. Yes, any priors, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest. I got resident of New York City. Only arrest was out of Dallas, Texas. Failure to identify, giving false information. That was dismissed.
Yes, Sean, this defendant had previously been criminally trespassed from the Georgia Tech campus through the year of 2026. As for SOB jail, stay away from the Georgia Tech campus, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
And that was in SOB jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Atay, any objection, but a stay away from Georgia Tech?
Yes.
No objection.
All right. Bond is set at $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Mr. Ayakola, today you can sign up for your bond. However, if you return to any property that belongs to the Georgia Tech University or the Georgia Institute of Technology, you will be arrested and brought back to jail and most likely not get a signature bond the next time. Your next court date will be sent to you at your current mailing address. Do you have a New York address or a local address?
I'm still a New York State resident.
Right. We'll send you notice to your current mailing address. And if it is a New York address, make sure that you get the notice, because if you don't show back up in court in Fulton County, Georgia, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. And these warrants have a nasty habit of going nationwide. We find people very easily in New York. Understood?
Yes, yes, Your
Make
Honor.
sure we have a good mailing address on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that pretty much completes our calendar, our add-on calendar.
I think so. Mr. Walker, anything else?
I think we're done, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cook, have we addressed all your cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then just to go over the calendar. On position one, Kofi is a $3,000 surety bond, reset June 27. Position two, Davis is a 2,600 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. Position three is a 2,500 surety bond, reset June 27. Position four, Dots is a 2,000 surety bond, reset June 27. Position five, Estrada is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Position six, Donald, what's his last name, Harris, is a split bond. It's 2,500 split bond is $1,000 surety on the driving while license suspended with a release to the Douglas County hold only. Reset date is June 27th. Darius Lewis on the theft by takings, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. On the reckless conduct, it's a $5,000 surety bond. Both cases reset to June 27th. On position 8, Mac is released and that's further notice for trial. Position 9, Mitchell is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. On position 10, OJ Sheena is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
What's that contact?
I'm sorry?
What's that contact?
For OJ Sheena?
Correct.
No contact with Emily Moore. As I was saying, $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1 with 8 anger management classes. Thomas, position 11 is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial.
Your Honor, I have 4,500.
I got 35.
It's 3,500.
35, okay, thank you.
Yes. It's 3,500 signature bond for pretrial with a DVIP requirement. Position.
Hold on. I need that contact too.
Oh, no contact with
Okay.
Marika Bell.
Thank you.
And position 12, Brett Turner is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial with a DVIP requirement as well, and no contact with Stantricia Harris. And then the add-on, Jordan Crow, is a $600 split bond, and Ayakola is a signature bond through the jail, $1,000.
Mr. Crow, the split bond, signature bond, was that through pretrial or jail?
On the criminal trespass is a 500 surety bond. And the marijuana charge is a $100 signature bond through the jail. He doesn't have a pretrial bond.
Okay.
We good?
Yep.
We're
All
good.
right. Okay, everyone. You all enjoy your Thursday afternoon. See you tomorrow.